Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted to be joined by Owen McKendry. This is kind of a further reaction video to what we've witnessed after Richardson Hitchins outpointed and beat Liam Paro via split decision to become the new IBF World Super Lightweight Champion. Obviously there's a reaction video on the channel. If you haven't checked that out already, please do so. This is more about kind of what's next and the kind of questions surrounding Richardson Hitchins after that performance. Although it was a split decision, mate, as we were talking about, maybe a bit of a shocking scorecard in there in favor of Liam Paro. I think Hitchins won well. So this video was all about, who would beat, if anybody, Richardson Hitchins at 140 pounds. But before we get into it, one, if you are watching, guys, please do hit that subscribe button. We've got all of your boxing needs under one roof, whether it's videos like this, reactions to fights happening just within 20, 15, 20 minutes of it, big fight breakdowns, previews, all of the above, betting tips and interviews, of course, with fighters as well, as we're regularly at press conferences and fight nights as well. So please do check all of that out. Hit a like on the video and please drop a comment to let us know your thoughts on what we're about to discuss. Owen, thanks very much for joining me, mate. We've watched this fight, and whether or not we stayed up to watch it UK time or watched it the next morning, it doesn't matter now. We have watched it. What did you make of it? And then just after that, kind of following up the question of who, if anybody, do you think beats Richardson Hitchins at 140 pounds?
Again, thank you for having me on. But yeah, I watched it back this morning. I thought Richardson Hitchins was excellent. Thought he managed the distance very well. And he just didn't let Leon Paro get going really. I don't want to get too much into detail over that scorecard, but that 117, 111 in favour of Leon Paro is one of the worst scorecards I've seen in a long, long while. I think not to take anything away from obviously Leon Paro, I just think Richardson Hitchins was that good. Last night, I did personally think Leon Paro would have won on points. I said that myself. So the performance Hitchins put on was unbelievable, and I think a lot of people did potentially see, with likes of obviously we'll get onto certain names, but what's Teofimo doing? We've discussed is Jack Catterall the best at the weight. So I think you'd have to look at the moment Richardson Hitchins after that performance last night, especially or early hours of this morning. He's definitely up there with the best, and I think after that fight, you'd have to say he probably is the best at the weight. It's a very open division. Eddie Hearns speaks very well on it in interviews. He's a big believer and a big advocate for this being one of the best divisions in the sport. So I think it's hard to find anyone based off not even necessarily just last night, based off what he's done so far, but I think last night probably cements himself as the best in the division, definitely.
Very interesting, mate. It's one of them where, you know, there are so many players here, and on any given day, like as you said, Teofimo Lopez on his best days probably beats everybody, in my opinion. But when was the last time we saw Teofimo Lopez firing on all cylinders? It was a while ago now. He's kind of flattered to see recently underperformed quite regularly. You mentioned Jack Catterall, obviously, kind of in the form of his life right now, but he was on the deck against Regis Prograis, whether or not he had an injury. I know he said after that going into the fight, but he did. Maybe people might look at that and think there's a blueprint to beat him there. Liam Paro obviously beat Subriel Matias, who was meant to be this fearsome puncher that nobody could beat. And then obviously Liam Paro goes and loses to Hitchins. A few names there that we've mentioned there already, mate, and we'll discuss a couple of them. One of them actually I'm going to start with is a name that maybe wouldn't spring to mind straight away is Keyshawn Davis. And the reason I'm saying Keyshawn Davis, right, is because Richardson Hitchins' last fight was against that Argentinian Lemos, who gave Hitchins many, many problems. Part of the reason was why I was so confident Liam Paro was going to win as well. But Hitchins obviously did the job that he needed to do on Liam Paro excellently. He was superb. But he didn't look good against Lemos. Keyshawn Davis then I thought it was going to be a risky fight against Lemos, and he absolutely obliterated him in 2 rounds, with Lemos even missing the weight and all. So that was a bit of a statement. What about if those two? What about if those two fought at 140 pounds in the next year or so?
I think it's an interesting one because Keyshawn Davis, when he first burst onto the scene, we'll say was, tipped to be the next one of the next big stars of boxing. I'm not saying that he won't be, but I think it's one of them. He's been a bit slower potentially than people expected. I'm not saying he was going to be Lomachenko style fighting for world titles within sort of 2 or 3 fights, but I think people expected Keyshawn Davis to come in and sweep through everyone at a stupid pace. Obviously, like you say, that last fight for Keyshawn Davis was like you say, a bit baffling to be honest, how easily he disposed of Lemos. I think it's definitely a fight we could see, but I think the problem is there's so many contenders now at 140. I think we honestly we need some form of, when we had the Super Series, I think we need something like that again because there's so many names being thrown into the hat. Like you said, Keyshawn Davis is a bit of a, for a casual boxing fan and people that might not have seen much of him or heard much of him would not necessarily laugh at it, but they'd sort of question, okay, who's that type of thing. So you've got these young fighters like Keyshawn Davis, as you said, coming through who are going to be staking their claims. You've got Jack Catterall, who's now desperate for another world title shot. What's Devin Haney going to be doing? What's Teofimo Lopez going to be doing? So it's such a stacked division. And you never know with the mandatories, the rankings, who's next. But like you say, boxing maths doesn't always work out. But like you said there, when you look at how world champions are dealing with certain fighters, and then you've got up and coming, I suppose he's still classed as a prospect, manhandling them. It's you've got to throw their names in the hat.
Absolutely, mate. I think it's such an interesting division, and even at the lower level, just below that, you've kind of got you're going to fast track Andy Cruz, who's obviously an excellent amateur. You've got even Dalton Smith, right, who beat Zepeda better than Hitchins beat him. And now Hitchins has got the belt. He's maybe coming up soon. Adam Mazim, obviously, European held that European belt. Is he maybe a wee bit too soon for those guys? But like within the next year to 18 months, like there's another few names that aren't even in anyone's mind right now. Looks like Jack Catterall might be fighting Arnold Barbosa Jr. Like I'd like to think Jack Catterall deserves a world title shot. I think he beats Barbosa probably, to be honest with you. But then yeah, there's a few loads of big names. To answer the question in the title of this video, I think there's actually a few people that can meet Richardson Hitchins. I'll name a couple now. I think Jack Catterall beats Hitchins. I think Keyshawn Davis beats Hitchins that we've just mentioned. I think on his best day, Teofimo Lopez beats him. If Devin Haney fights at 140 again, I think he beats him. Rumors that Shakur Stevenson might even move up to 140 after in the next wee while. I think he beats him. So I've named five fighters already who I think could beat Richardson Hitchins. Yet you're kind of saying as well that right now he's probably the number one in the division. Just goes to show you how open it is. That super
Mhm.
lightweight. I mean, it's fascinating. How do you think he gets on against those guys that I've just mentioned?
Um, do you know what? I'd have to agree with you on it's mental. I think we've done so many videos on the channel on this division, and if someone had the time to go through them, I think between us we'd have probably said seven different fighters are the best in the division. I think out and out, I think Teofimo Lopez is the best. If we're doing it pound for pound on their day, Teofimo Lopez would be the best in the division, in my opinion. At present, Devin Haney, was it a case of was Ryan Garcia cheating? Was it Devin Haney just wasn't as good on the night as he should have been, underestimated him? There's so much maths to bring in here, but I'd have to agree with the five that you said. I think Catterall beats him on points. I think that'd be a great fight. Keyshawn Davis, I'm a bit 50-50 on that one. I think I want to see one or two more fights from him and then put him in. Teofimo, yes. Devin Haney, yes. So it's mental to say that the champion who's probably now the number one in the division probably isn't the actual number one in the division, but as it stands, he is probably the man.
Boxing for you. I mean, it's fascinating. What an exciting division we have on our hands. It's super lightweight. Yeah, fingers crossed we get to see all these guys fighting each other, whether it be a super series or whatever. I just hope that all of these guys now do fight each other and we do have a definitive number one, two, three, or whatever it is in the next couple of years. And it really exciting fights in prospect at 140 pounds. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts on what Owen and I have just discussed. Who does beat Richardson Hitchins at 140 pounds? If anyone, do you have him at number one currently? How do you think he gets on against those names we've mentioned there as well? And please do let us know in the comments. Hit that like button, and most importantly, please do subscribe to the channel if you are not doing so already. Owen, thanks very much for your time, mate, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Pleasure as always, my friend.